Tanks are considered to be a more fragile and valuable war material than infantry. For losing infantry, the commander risks nothing, but for losing tanks, it will be the penal battalion. And that's from Inside the Soviet Army by Viktor Suvorov. Hello, this is a casted game between myself, Hippie, playing as 7 Panzer again, and I'm up against Shahikot, playing as 79Y. Shahikot is ranked about 50th, and I'm ranked about 20th. So we'll go through the deployment, and then we'll get on with the game. So starting with my deployment, I've got a regular Aufklärer over here on the far left, and then Spezial Aufklärer, one going to here, one going to here, one going to here, one going to here. This is actually a pretty good spot, lets you see things over here. Behind that, I've got one BRDM2. I took these out of my deck after this, I don't think they're very good. On the far right, I've got one CV going for Echo. And then I have an aggressive start to the game here. So 2 Cubs and a supply. Pretty standard. Cubs going not next to each other, but both within range of 1 supply. And then 2 T-72Ms and a T-72M Führer. 30 more points for the Führer. And then behind those 2 Motschutzen and BMP-1 SP-1s, the one without the ATGM, which only costs 20 points, and the supply for them. So basically 79Y, very much a late game div, and so I want to attack him early with a bunch of T-72s, some infantry backed up with AA. Going for my opponent's deployment, Spetsnaz Gru are too cheap in my opinion, 65 points, and they're better than the Spezial Aufklärer, which are 80. So I'm not sure why that's the case, but the case it is. You can see the rocket launcher's better, sniper's the same, and the asphalt's better than the AKSU-74. Anyway, similar sort of picket line, except with Spetsnaz Gru for shahikot. So one's going to here, which is cool. I'm not sure if you can really use the recon potential from this position for this unit. One going to here, and then he's going to move up to here, so that this guy will provide the recon on this area. And so, you know, this guy's it's a bit of a waste of one to put him here, because he can't really use his recon that effectively. One going to the middle, so here, and then he'll probably move it up, and then one going to the right, so here, and then he'll probably move it up. Behind that, a couple more guys on the left, so Conker's team going to here. Moto Strelki and a Gaz going to here, so he's definitely expecting an attack down here. And then a supply and a T-80B going down to here. So that's a lot of points spent on this left side. He definitely expects me to attack in Charlie. He's got his own 2 Cubs, except these are a bit more spread out. You don't really want to put them near buildings because it won't fire. If the enemy plane is south of this building, and the thing is too close to the building, it won't actually shoot, because the building will block it, so you don't want to do that. And he's got supplies for each of his Cubs. Moving into the center, we have just one CV, and he's going to go to all 3 zones. Motostrelki Meta is going to here, and the Conker is going to here. Yep, I got that the right way around. And on the far right, another Motostrelki in a Gaz, so he's going to here. And another T-80B. The T-80B got buffed in the last patch. It's 185 points, so it actually trades pretty decently against these T-72s if you just look at the stats of that and then compare it to this. So the gun on the T-72 is worse. So the fire rate and the armor is worse, but you know, it's 30 points cheaper, so what do you expect? Whereas if you compare this to a Chieftain Mark 11, this is so much better than a Chieftain Mark 11 now, so not sure what's going on there, but it is what it is, and as usual I'll be casting from my perspective because I'm in the game. Right, so they're off, and I just pinged positions that I want to buy Strellas on, and I remembered I needed to put a unit here because I didn't actually do that at the start, so if he'd rushed these guys down here, probably could have got me, but as it stands he doesn't do that. So everybody's going to where we said they were going to go. And yeah, these TAEBs, there's something to them. Taking them at 1 vet is a huge mistake, though, because basically as soon as you take a shot, you're going to become quite useless, particularly without any military police around or a CV next to it. So yeah, it can't really take advantage of its high armor if you bring it at 1 vet. Doesn't really make too much sense to do so. And yeah, as you can see, so this guy provides visual of that, I suppose, but then, you know, this guy could do the same thing but better. So it's a strange decision. I'll drop a Mott shots in here. Managed to get a couple early shots off on this Spetsnaz Gru. But yeah, Spetsnaz Gru's too cheap, really. 65 points for all that. It's too cheap, in my opinion. First tick income, I buy some Strelas, a Conkers, munitions, and Mott Shutson. My opponent buys an Mi-24P helicopter, a BMP-2, and a supply. This is quite a big investment at the start of the game. And given how... So Strelas are just ridiculously cheap. This is 170 points. It can be stopped by one of these. You'll notice this is 15. I can buy 11 of these for the same price. For less even. I can buy 11 Strelas for one of these. So it's very difficult to get these helicopters to pay for themselves now, particularly with the omnipresent risk of just a plane just running into it and blowing it up. Over here, you know, I'm attacking already because I know that at the start of the game I have an advantage. On this left side, my regular Aufklärer is getting messed up by this T-80B. And yeah, just trying to smoke and stuff, but then these guys sort of exceed the smoke. This BMP-1G, obviously the accuracy on that's not fantastic. So you see that they are past the smoke. I'm just trying to get everybody to shoot at once. This guy tanks a meta shot. But then the reason I bought the Strelas because I was like, oh, well now I'm pushing without AA. You know, the Cubs are great and all, but not the sort of thing you want to be fighting a helicopter with. That's typically reserved for planes. So we lost one Mott Shutson. Now, you know, we're going to lose the Special Aufklärer. Drives the CV over here now, which is reasonable, and this Metis squad survives. I nail that supply and then I smoke, but he actually got through the smoke, it's just it missed. The Kokon accuracy is only 55%. Buy 2 more T-72s for this side, but yeah, pushing without the Strela is kind of dumb. But now he's... Right, so that obviously wasn't very intelligent. He knows I've got loads of tanks up here. He knows I've got 3 because he's seen all 3. And he drove his T-80B up and it got shot from 2 tanks at once. Even if it had survived, you know, even if one of those had missed. Obviously these are at 3 vet because of the command, right? So the accuracy is a lot higher than 55%, particularly at like half range. Accuracy is pretty high. But even if one of them had missed, you know, he was still in a very bad position there. And because he was at 1 vet, you know, he would have been out of action for a few minutes just because of how suppressed he was. Keeping this motor strokey Metis alive is pretty smart though. And yeah, now we're trying to move up here. Every Spetsnaz Gru you kill is great. And this Conkers is sort of threading the needle on me. And I have to watch out for these rockets again. I bought the Strela, but it's too far away to help. Thankfully I saved this guy and we've brought up some supply. And yeah, we got a pretty aggressive push over here, but because of the way this middle zone works, you know, it's even if you win this side, he just drives over here, and you got to try and win this side. So it's kind of hard pushing in the middle zone on death row. Would be cool if it was like 2 zones. But this is obviously supposed to be Babby's first map. This is supposed to be a very small corridor map for new players. Problem is, because it came out first, a lot of people think that all maps should be this size, which is very wrong. You see, I keep making the same mistake over and over again here, where I drive past this Conkers and get all my guys killed. So I lost a Mott Shutson there and a BMP-1 for free. On this side, I lost over here on the left. Yeah, we're in a decent spot now, and you see that his reinforcements have a hard time, particularly if he's going to do that. He's buying more T-80Bs, but they're at 1 vet, and then he buys a T-80UD for 320 points. So that's more expensive than 2 of these. In fact, it is almost as expensive as the CV tank and the regular tank. So yeah, it's cool. The T-72M CV tank is actually really competitive at 180 points. I still think 7th is a top division. I think the tanks are still overperforming, really, if I'm being honest. And you just see that, you're sort of just limited by your own micro here. So, if you can bring to bear all of your tanks at once, then you just basically rinse anything coming the other way. But it's obviously difficult to do that, particularly with sightlines and stuff. So, my opponent's trying to buy more tanks, more infantry. Once again, this Conkers has done a really good job. I'm going to remember this spot. And he actually somehow manages to get this. I try and move up over here, but the sniper guy just melts my face. And I believe he bought some supply for this Conkers. This helicopter's doing alright, to be honest. And yeah, we now have a T-80UD problem. So yeah, we're in here, and then the Strelas are going to work. I bought some more, I bought a lot more, and now I've built up a force here, and I'm going to try and push down here, because you basically have to take this zone twice. Once is on this right side, and once is on this left side, and it would be the same for him if he was attacking me. If he manages to take this, I can still be in here. It's good to have maps that some maps are like that. But yeah, once you take this side, it's can be useful to sort of pressure this area, or try and get a guy up down here and pressure this area. And yeah, he's losing his T-80Bs to my T-72s just from the micro. So yeah, like even if so I'm not sure what's going on there. Like he's moving this, so it's getting like. I mean, I got 2 misses there, but those would have been side shots if they'd hit, because it's moving like that, you see. It's showing its side. But yeah, sometimes you miss. And then I realized, well, these tanks, man, I need to repair, and I don't have my supply with me. So pressuring on this side, pressuring on this side. In an ideal world, I'd like to get some side shots off on this T-80U. T-80UD even. Costs so many points. And yeah, once again, I lose something else to this Conkers. This guy's MVP. Showbean. That's a very Russian name. Saying that, knowing absolutely nothing about the culture. But I figure, yeah, I know where the tank is, so it can sort of shoot over there. And I send in an AT plane, which is obviously 7th gets those. And I nail a T-80B, and his Cubs all miss me. I think part of that is to do with the fact that this guy's behind this building, but then, maybe I just got quite lucky there. That Cub obviously dies to Motschützen now. But the helicopter's still around, but then he drives that motor stroke in. And now, yeah, so now we finally got this guy on 2 sides, and we can hit him from 2 sides. So, yeah, we get him there. He didn't react fast enough, and he was on low cohesion. I think it was at 1 vet. Might have been at 2 vet. And we've just sort of got this overwhelming superiority in numbers now. 79Y takes some time to build up. And instead of buying loads more of these TO-55s and T-62s and stuff, he went for the heavy tanks straight away. Which gives us a window where we just have way more tanks than him. And you'll note, not a whole lot of infantry, stuff like that. I buy a seed, but he switched off his Cubs and then switched them back on again. This thing has 40% ECM. And then he surrenders right before we see if the Cub hits. So yeah, shahikot, he's he was rank 50 something, now he's rank 62. And he's got about 600 games in ranked. I've got about 660 games in ranked and rank 20. So it was an even matchup. But you just see the you can really punish 79Y in the early game when you're playing a 7th. 7th, I've really come around to the opinion that it's still OP. The T-72s are just better than than most other tanks. The price to performance ratio is just crazy on the T-72. It's still top. in my opinion. And yeah, his tanks were one vet, which was obviously a big mistake. And he didn't have enough light tanks. He was just buying these heavy mediums, if you want to call them that. But yeah, we're evenly matched in games, and there's only 20 spaces between us on the ladder. So I hope you enjoyed that game. Have a nice whatever evening.